Okay, so here's your guys' homework on graphing quadratic functions from standard form and factored form. So recognize in number one, you guys, we have standard form, right? And you guys know standard form is the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, right? Okay, so let's start with a y-intercept. So you guys know for y-intercept, that's when x is equal to 0. So we're going to substitute 0 in for x, and then you guys solve. Okay, and when you guys simplify that, that's simply just going to be 30. So remember, x was equal to 0, and we just found the y-coordinate to be 30. Now for the roots, right? Another way of saying roots, you guys, is x-intercepts and zeros. So you guys know for root or x-intercepts, that is when y is equal to 0. So I'm going to set f of x equal to 0, and we have this now. Okay, so we are gonna factor out a negative 2 from each term, so we're gonna get x squared. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2, and negative 30 divided by negative 2 is negative 15. Now we're going to do x method to factor. So two things that multiply negative 15 but added together gives you 2 is 5 and negative 3. So 0 is going to equal to negative 2 times x plus 5 times x minus 3. So we get two equations. X plus 5 is equal to 0, or x minus 3 is equal to 0. So now we solve. X equals negative 5, and x is equal to 3. Now remember, we said at the very beginning y is equal to 0, right? So both of these y values are 0. Okay, vertex. To find your guys' vertex, it's x is equal to negative b over 2a. Well, your a value is negative 2, your b value is 4, and your c value is 30. So what we're going to have is negative, that should be negative 4, of negative 4 over 2 times negative 2, which is 4 over negative 4, which is negative 1. So we know the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 1. And that's the same thing as the axis symmetry, right? X is equal to negative 1, because we know the axis symmetry is the x value of the vertex. Now, in order to find the y-coordinate of the vertex, we simply substitute this into the original equation. So, f of negative 1 is equal to negative 2 times negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 1 plus 30, which is negative 2 times 1 plus 4 plus 30, which is 32. So negative 1 comma 32 is the y-coordinate of the vertex. Now let's take a look at concavity. You know a is negative 2, so a is less than 0, which means it concaves down, and it's going to give you a sad face. And you guys know, if it gives you a sad face, it's going to give you a maximum value. It's going to give you a maximum value, so it's going to be a maximum. Okay, so now we can finally graph. So I'm just going to go by ones on the bottom. So negative 5 comma 0 is right there. 3 comma 0 is right there. Negative 1 comma 32. So I'm going to put these by tens. So negative 1 comma 32 is right there, and then 0 comma 30 is right there. So when we graph this, our graph is going to look something to that level. Yep, and then graph your guys' x is axis of symmetry, which is this. Okay. So, there is pretty much your guys' graph. And now we are going to find your guys' domain and range. So, how far left is the graph going? Negative infinity. It's going forever left. How far right is it going? Forever right. So positive infinity. Range. How low is the graph going? All the way down, so negative infinity, to how high? Well, look at your vertex. Goes all the way up to 32 with a bracket. So that's number 1. Number 2. So again, this is in standard form. So y-intercept, you guys, is x is equal to 0. So f of 0 is going to equal to 3 times 0 squared minus 6 times 0 minus 9, which is just negative 9. So remember, x is 0, and we just found negative 9. Now for roots, right? This is where y is equal to 0. So we're going to set f of x equal to 0, and then we're going to solve. 3x squared minus 6x minus 9. We're going to factor out the 3. So you get x squared minus 2x minus 3. Now we're going to factor, so we're going to get x minus 3 times x plus 1. Set both of them. Oh, well, if you guys need to see the x method, right? What two things multiply to negative 3 but add together gives you negative 2, that's negative 3 and 1, which is how we got that right there. Alright, set both of the linear factors equal to 0. And we solve for x, so we're going to get x is equal to 3, or x is equal to negative 1. So negative 1 and 3, and remember, because we wrote in the very beginning y is equal to 0, it's 0 for both of the roots. Okay, vertex. Remember, vertex is x is equal to negative b over 2a. So here's my a, here's my b, and here's my c. So negative of b is negative of negative 6. 2 times a, which is 3. So we're going to get 6 over 6, which is 1. So we're going to get a 1 for the vertex. Now, remember, we substitute 1 into the original in order to find the y value of the vertex. So we got 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 minus 9. So we're going to get 3 minus 6 minus 9, which is negative 12. So 1 comma negative 12. Axis of symmetry, remember you guys, that is the x value of the vertex. So x equals 1. Okay, concavity, so we need to look at our a value, right? So we know a is 3. So we know a is greater than 0, right? So that means it opens up, which is a happy face. And if you have a happy face, that means you have a minimum, right? Because you guys see it has the lowest point. Okay, so let's graph. 0 comma negative 9. I'm just going to do these by 2's. So 0 comma negative 9 is right there. My roots, so negative 1 comma 0, 3 comma 0, and our vertex 1 comma negative 12, which is right there. And there is your guys' graph. Oh, and I need to graph the axis symmetry, which is that x is equal to 1. Okay. Domain, how far left is this graph going? All the way to the left, so negative infinity. How far right? Positive infinity. Range, how low is this graph going? All the way down to negative 12. To how high? Positive infinity. Okay. Number 3. Okay, so this is in factored form. You guys know this is in factored form because you literally see the factors of this quadratic, x plus 2 and x minus 2, the linear factors. Okay, so y-intercept, right? Still the same thing. That's when x is equal to 0. So f of 0 is equal to negative 4, 0 plus 2, and 0 minus 2, which is negative 4 times 2 times negative 2, which is not 8, sorry, 16. So remember, your x value is 0, your y value is 16. Roots. You set your y equal to 0. So f of x is 0 now. Negative 4, x plus 2, and x minus 2. One nice thing about factored form is it's already in factored form, so we can set both our linear factors equal to 0. We solve for both, and we'll find that x is equal to negative 2 or x is equal to 2. So remember, the y is 0 because we said y is equal to 0, right? And we found x was equal to negative 2 and x is equal to 2. Okay, so vertex. So vertex is, okay, so this is the new formula for vertex. It's R1 plus R2 over 2. This will give you your x value of the vertex. R1 and R2, you guys, are the roots, which is negative 2 plus the other root, 2. This is 0 over 2, you guys, which is 0. So we know the vertex is 0, or x-coordinate, sorry. So now we need to plug this into the original, but do you guys recognize that we already plugged in 0 for the y-intercept? So we know if we plug in 0 into the original, it's just 16. So coincidentally, the vertex and y-intercept are the same. So axis symmetry, that's the x value of the vertex, which is x is equal to 0. Okay, concavity. So concavity, you guys, a is equal to negative 4, so that means a is less than 0, which means it's going to give you a sad face. Opens down. So when it opens down, you'll have a maximum, and now we can start graphing. Negative 2 comma 0 is there, 2 comma 0 is there. I'll just do these by intervals of 2. Or I'll just do it by intervals of 4. That's a lot easier. So 0 comma 16 is right there. Graph. K-ish, and axis symmetry, which is on x is equal to 0, is right there. Domain, how far left is this graph going? Negative infinity. How far right? Positive infinity. Range, what is the lowest this is going? Negative infinity. What is the highest it is going? All the way up to 16 with the bracket. Remember, brackets means you include the value, because we can clearly see the highest point. Parentheses means you do not include the value. So for our case, we can't include infinity because there's no definitive answer for infinity. Lastly, number 4. So x-intercept, right? You know x is equal to 0, so let's substitute 0 in. 0 plus 1, 0 minus 5, which is 1 times negative 5, which is negative 5. So x is 0, right? And we got negative 5 for the y value of the y-intercept. Okay, roots, that's where y is equal to 0, so we're going to set f of x equal to 0, so 0 equals x plus 1, x minus 5. So since it's already in factored form, we could just solve for our linear factors, so x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 5 is equal to 0. We solve for both. X is equal to 1, or x is equal to 5. Sorry, x is equal to negative 1, not positive 1. So we know our y values are 0, right? And we found negative 1 and 5. Okay, vertex, remember for factored form, it is R1 plus R2 all over 2. R1 and R2 are our roots that we found. So it's negative 1 plus 5 over 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. So that's the x value of our vertex. Now to find the original, right, we gotta substitute in 2 into the original equation. So 2 plus 1 and 2 minus 5, which is 3 times negative 3, which is negative 9. So this is 2 comma negative 9. So axis symmetry, it's the x value we found, which is x is equal to 2. So concavity, so it doesn't say it, but this has a coefficient of 1, so we know A is greater than 0, which means it's a happy face, and that means it opens up. So when it opens up, you guys, if you guys notice, it's gonna have a minimum. Technology. So, once you guys do have that, let me see here. Trying to figure it out right now. Let's see. Okay, put that up. Sorry, you guys are just gonna have to skip this in your video. So, I think for the most, I am still trying to figure this out. Oh, please connect. Or do I have to, maybe I have to disconnect from the Wi-Fi. Oh, it just popped up. Great. Well, you guys have the ants. Okay, it finally popped up. So you're just gonna have to skip all that nonsense, you guys, from the video. If this decides to pop up. Yep, there it goes. Sorry for that. Okay, so we got everything. Now we just graph, right? So roots, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0. 2, -9. I'm just going to do these by intervals of 2. So 2, -9 looks to be right there. The y-intercept is at 0, -5, which is right there. So your guys' graph should look like that to some degree. Axis of symmetry, it's on x is equal to 2. Alright, domain. So how far left is this graph going? All the way to the left, so -infinity. How far right? Positive infinity. What's the lowest value? The lowest value is bracket -9 to the highest infinity. So hopefully this guys helps you, and good luck, okay?